In the heart of the Olympic Mountains, there once lay a valley so serene and lush that it seemed to be nature's very own sanctuary. This valley was known as the Valley of Peace, and it was a sacred ground for the native tribes. For generations, the native people from all corners of the region gathered in this hallowed place once a year. They came not as warring factions, but as friends, shedding their weapons and grievances to celebrate unity and peace. The Valley of Peace was a haven where the evergreen cedar, fir and pine stood as ancient sentinels, their boughs heavy with the wisdom of ages. The valley floor was a carpet of vibrant green, adorned with flowers of every colour, their sweet scent mingling with the crisp mountain air. A crystal-clear stream wound through the valley, its gentle murmurs a constant song of tranquility. For countless years, the tribes convened in this valley, engaging in games of strength and skill, trading goods and forging bonds that would transcend the year ahead. This tradition was a testament to the power of peace and the deep respect the tribes had for the land and each other. Of the tribes. Chapter 3. The Arrival of Seatco. But as the sun set on the second day of the gathering, a shadow fell over the valley. The air grew heavy and a chill swept through the camp. The once clear sky darkened, and a sense of unease settled over the people. From the depths of the forest, a figure emerged. Towering above the tallest fir trees, Seatco, chief of all the evil spirits, made his presence known. Seatco was a giant, his immense form casting a long shadow across the valley. His eyes glowed with a malevolent fire, and his face, twisted with anger, was more terrible to behold than the fiercest wild beast. His voice, louder than the roar of the ocean, reverberated through the valley, sending tremors through the ground.
You dare to gather here in peace, ignoring my power? I am Seatco, and I shall show you the folly of your ways.
Chapter 4. The Wrath of Seatco. With a mighty roar, Seatco began his assault. He tore through the forest, uprooting trees and hurling them like matchsticks. His breath, a foul wind, changed the course of rivers and sent rocks tumbling from the mountainside. The earth shook beneath his feet, and the once peaceful valley was thrown into chaos. Panic spread through the tribes like wildfire. People scattered, desperate to escape the wrath of Seatco. The bonds of friendship and unity forged over generations were tested as survival instincts took hold. Some of the bravest warriors tried to stand against Seatco, but their efforts were in vain. His strength was beyond anything they had ever encountered, and he swatted them away as if they were mere insects. The valley, once a symbol of peace, was now a battlefield. The once serene and lush Valley of Peace was now a place of turmoil and fear, forever changed by the wrath of Seatco. Chapter 5. The Flight. With great haste, they made their way through the treacherous trails that led out of the valley. The sound of Seatco's destruction echoed in their ears, a constant reminder of the peril they faced. As they climbed higher into the mountains, they looked back at the valley, now a scene of devastation. The stream that had once murmured gently through the meadow was now choked with debris, its waters dark and turbulent. The flowers that had bloomed so brightly were trampled and crushed. The valley, their sacred place of peace, was no more. Valley of devastation. Amidst the chaos, a group of elders gathered the women, children, and those unable to fight. They knew that their only hope was to flee the valley and warn their villages of the danger that now resided there. Chapter 6. The Warning.
The survivors reached their villages, their hearts heavy with sorrow and fear. They told their people of the terror that had befallen the Valley of Peace, of the wrath of Seatco, and of the destruction he had wrought. The villages mourned the loss of their friends and the desecration of their sacred ground. They vowed never to return to the valley, for it was now cursed by the presence of Seatco. The annual gathering, a cherished tradition, was abandoned and the tribes retreated into their own territories, wary and vigilant.
Chapter 7. The legend lives on.
Years passed and the story of Seatco and the Valley of Peace became a legend, passed down from generation to generation. The valley, once a symbol of unity and tranquility, was now a place of darkness and fear. The elders spoke of Seatco with reverence and dread, warning the young to stay away from the cursed valley. The memory of the gathering lived on, a reminder of the power of peace and the devastating force of anger and hatred. The land slowly began to heal, but the scars of Seatco's wrath remained. The trees grew back, but they were twisted and gnarled. The stream flowed once more, but its waters were tinged with a shadow of their former clarity. The flowers bloomed, but their colors were muted.
Chapter 8. A New Generation. Despite the warnings, a new generation grew curious about the Valley of Peace. They had heard the stories, but they could not understand the fear that gripped their elders. They saw the valley as a challenge, a place to prove their bravery and to uncover the truth behind the legend.
One such youth was Tahoma, a young warrior from the largest tribe. Tahoma was strong and fearless, with a heart full of curiosity and a mind eager for adventure. He had grown up hearing the tales of Seatco and the Valley of Peace, but he could not accept that a place so beautiful could be so dangerous.
Chapter 9. The Quest. Against the wishes of his elders, Tahoma decided to journey to the Valley of Peace. He believed that if he could confront Seatco and understand the source of his anger, he could perhaps bring peace back to the valley and restore the gathering. He set out alone, armed with nothing but his courage and determination.
As he made his way through the mountains, he felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. The trails were overgrown and difficult to navigate, but Tahoma pressed on, driven by a desire to uncover the truth.
Chapter 10. The Encounter. When Tahoma finally reached the Valley of Peace, he was struck by the eerie silence that hung over the land. The once lush meadows were now a tangle of thorny undergrowth. The stream, though flowing, had an unnatural stillness to it. The trees, twisted and gnarled, seemed to watch him with eyes of their own.
As he ventured deeper into the valley, he felt a presence watching him. The air grew thick and heavy, and a sense of foreboding settled over him. He knew that Seatco was near.
Suddenly, the ground shook, and a thunderous roar echoed through the valley. Tahoma turned to see Seatco emerging from the shadows, his immense form looming over the landscape. The giant's eyes burned with a fiery rage, and his voice was like the roar of 1,000 storms.
"Who dares to enter my valley?" Seatco bellowed.
Tahoma stood his ground, his heart pounding in his chest. "I am Tahoma from the tribe of the Great Mountains," he replied. "I have come to understand why you bring destruction to this sacred place. What has caused your anger, Seatco?"
Seatco's eyes narrowed and he let out a bitter laugh. "You seek to understand? You, a mere mortal, think you can comprehend my wrath?"
"I must try," Tahoma said, his voice steady. "For the sake of my people and the memory of this valley, I must understand."
Seatco regarded Tahoma for a moment, then began to speak. His voice, though still powerful, had a note of sadness to it. "Long ago, before your people came to this land, I was a guardian of these mountains. I protected the valley and its inhabitants. But as time passed, the tribes began to take this place for granted. They forgot the old ways, the respect and reverence that was once shown to the land and its spirits. Each year the gathering grew larger, and with it came more greed, more conflict. The valley, once a place of peace, became tainted by the very people it was meant to unite." My anger grew as I watched the land suffer, and I became what you see now, a force of destruction, a reminder of the consequences of forgetting the old ways.
Tahoma listened intently, his heart heavy with the weight of Seatco's words. He realized that the spirit's anger was not without reason. The tribes had indeed strayed from the path of respect and harmony, and the valley had paid the price. "I understand now," Tahoma said softly. "We have wronged this land and its guardian, but we can change. We can learn from our mistakes and restore the valley to its former glory."
Seatco looked at Tahoma, a flicker of hope in his eyes. "You speak with sincerity, young warrior. Perhaps there is still a chance for redemption."
Chapter 14, The Return. Tahoma returned to his tribe with a newfound wisdom. He gathered the elders and shared with them the tale of his encounter with Seatco. He spoke of the need to return to the old ways, to show respect and reverence for the land and its spirits.
The tribes listened, and a renewed sense of purpose took hold. They began to make changes, small at first, but significant. They honored the land with ceremonies and offerings, and they taught the younger generation the importance of respect and harmony.
Chapter 15, The Restoration. Over time, the valley began to heal. The trees grew straighter, the stream flowed clearer, and the flowers bloomed with vibrant colors once more. The Valley of Peace was slowly being restored, not just in its physical form, but in the spirit of the people. Seatco watched from the shadows, his heart lightened by the efforts of the tribes. He saw that they had learned their lesson, and he knew that his role as a guardian was being fulfilled once more. Chapter 16. The legacy continues. The annual gathering was eventually reinstated, but it was different now. It was no longer just a time of celebration, but a time of reflection and gratitude. The tribes came together to honor the land, to celebrate their unity, and to remember the lessons of the past. Seatco's presence was still felt in the valley, but it was no longer one of anger and destruction. He was a guardian once more, watching over the people and the land with a sense of pride and fulfillment. Thank you for joining us for this tale of Seatco, the Demon of the Valley. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to click the bell for more legends, Bigfoot encounters and strange creature stories.